Imagine waking up tomorrow to discover that every human being alive today descends from a population so small that they could have fit inside a modern movie theater. Not millions, not hundreds of thousands, perhaps only a little over 1,000 people. Now ask yourself something even stranger. If humanity came so unbelievably close to disappearing, why don't we ever talk about it? Why isn't this story taught alongside the rise of civilizations, the pyramids, or the dinosaurs? Because for most of human history, we didn't even know it had happened. The evidence wasn't buried inside a cave. It wasn't carved into stone. It was hidden inside you. Inside every cell of your body, inside your DNA. And when scientists began reading that genetic story, they uncovered a mystery so astonishing that it forced them to ask an uncomfortable question. Did our species almost vanish from Earth? Picture Africa around 900,000 years ago. No cities, no roads, no farms, no written language. Only vast grasslands stretching toward the horizon, broken by scattered forests and rivers that changed course with the seasons. Early humans walked these landscapes carrying simple stone tools. They had no idea they belonged to a species that might one day build skyscrapers, launch satellites, and decode the very molecules inside their own bodies. They were simply trying to survive until tomorrow. But tomorrow was becoming harder to reach. The climate was beginning to change. Entire ecosystems shifted. Rainfall patterns became unpredictable. Some lakes disappeared. Forests shrank. Grasslands expanded. Animals migrated. Food became less reliable. And somewhere during this chaotic chapter of Earth's history, something happened that nearly erased our family tree. Today, there are more than 8 billion people on Earth. Yet geneticists notice something deeply puzzling. Human beings are remarkably similar to one another, far more similar than many animal species with much smaller populations. In fact, two chimpanzees living in the same forest can sometimes have more genetic differences than two humans living on opposite sides of the planet. Think about that. A child in Nigeria, a grandmother in Peru, a fisherman in Indonesia, an engineer in Japan. Despite speaking different languages and living oceans apart, their DNA is astonishingly alike. Why? Where did all the genetic diversity go? For decades, scientists searched for an answer. Eventually, they realized they might not be looking at what humanity gained. They were looking at what humanity had lost. DNA behaves like an ancient diary. Every generation copies it. Tiny changes appear over thousands of years. Most of those changes survive only if enough people continue passing them forward. But when a population suddenly becomes very small, many genetic variations disappear forever. Imagine a library containing 1 million books. Now imagine a fire destroys nearly everything. Only a few hundred books remain. Future generations could copy those surviving books perfectly, but countless stories would be gone forever. Our DNA carries signs of exactly this kind of event. Geneticists call it a population bottleneck. It's one of nature's most dramatic filters. Not because everyone dies, but because so few survive, and those survivors become the ancestors of everyone who comes later, including us. For years, researchers estimated that humanity experienced one or more bottlenecks. But in recent years, new analytical methods examined thousands of modern human genomes in extraordinary detail. The results were startling. One study suggested that around 930,000 years ago, the breeding population of our ancestors may have dropped to roughly 1,280 individuals. Pause for a moment. That's not the population of an entire continent. That's not even enough people to fill many high schools. If these estimates are close to reality, humanity balanced on an unimaginably thin edge for more than 100,000 years, generation after generation, century after century, never knowing just how close extinction truly was. Now it's important to understand something. Science is always refining its understanding of the past. Researchers continue to debate exactly how severe this bottleneck was and what caused it. But many agree that our ancestors experienced periods when their numbers became extraordinarily small. And whether the number was 1,280 or several thousand, the message remains astonishing. Our survival was never guaranteed. So what could have caused such a collapse? The Earth itself may have turned against them. Around this time, the planet entered dramatic climate cycles. Temperatures fluctuated, ice sheets expanded, Rainfall patterns changed across Africa. Habitats that had supported generations suddenly transformed. Imagine returning every year to a river where your family has always found water, only to discover dry ground stretching to the horizon. Imagine following migrating animals that never return. Imagine fruit trees failing season after season. For small human groups already living close to survival, even modest environmental changes could become devastating. One failed season becomes two becomes 10. Soon entire communities disappear without leaving a single written word behind. But nature wasn't the only challenge. Our ancestors shared the landscape with powerful predators. Lions, hyenas, leopards, gigantic crocodiles, massive snakes, even rival human species. They possessed no metal weapons, no hospitals, no maps, no weather forecasts. Every sunrise offered another chance to survive. Every sunset was an achievement. When we picture prehistory, it's easy to imagine endless adventure. The reality was probably quieter and much harder. Most days were likely spent searching for food, protecting children, avoiding danger, and hoping tomorrow looked a little kinder than today. Here's something remarkable. Despite living through what may have been humanity's darkest chapter, these people continued to innovate. Stone tools gradually improved. Knowledge passed from one generation to another. Fire became increasingly important. Cooperation grew stronger. Because intelligence alone wasn't enough, survival depended on something even more powerful: working together. One individual cannot hunt every animal. One person cannot watch for predators all night. One parent cannot always protect every child. But a community multiplies its chances. Perhaps that is one of humanity's oldest superpowers. Not strength, not speed, not claws. Connection. This idea appears again and again throughout our history. Whenever conditions became difficult, humans adapted. We shared knowledge. We learned from failure. We invented new solutions. We migrated. We explored. We refused to stop. Long before cities existed, long before agriculture, long before history books, the foundations of human resilience were already being written, not with ink, but with survival. There's another fascinating twist. If humanity truly passed through such a narrow bottleneck, every person alive today carries echoes of those survivors. Your heartbeat, your hands, your eyes, your ability to imagine the future, every one of those traits exists because an unbroken chain of ancestors refused to disappear. Think about the odds. One missed hunt, one harsh winter, one dangerous encounter, one illness. Any of those moments could have broken that chain forever. Yet somehow, across nearly 1 million years, it didn't. Scientists sometimes describe evolution using statistics and probability, but behind every statistic was a real individual. Someone who comforted a frightened child, someone who discovered a safer path, someone who found water during a drought, someone who shared food instead of keeping it. Those small choices rarely appear in fossils, yet they may have shaped the future of our species more than any famous king or emperor ever could. History often celebrates extraordinary moments. Prehistory reminds us that ordinary survival can be just as extraordinary. Perhaps that's why this story feels so different. It isn't about conquering the world. It isn't about building monuments. It's about continuing. One more day, one more season, one more generation. Until eventually, those scattered groups became villages. Villages became civilizations. Civilizations became nations. And hundreds of thousands of years later, a species that nearly vanished learned how to sequence its own DNA and uncover the mystery of its survival. There is something beautifully poetic about that. The descendants finally discovered the secret their ancestors never knew. They almost disappeared, and yet, they didn't. The next time you look at a crowd, an airport, a school, a busy street, or even your own family, remember this possibility. Every face may trace its story back to one of the smallest chapters in human history, a time when the future of our species may have rested in the lives of only a tiny number of people struggling through an uncertain world. They couldn't imagine us, just as we struggle to imagine them. Yet across nearly 1 million years, their courage, adaptability, and persistence quietly reached into the present and became us. The greatest miracle of human history may not be that we built civilizations, It may be that there was still someone left to build them, because sometimes the most important chapter in our story is the one that almost never happened, and perhaps that's the greatest lesson prehistory has to offer. Before humanity changed the world, humanity first had to survive it. That's a story worth remembering.